pretty big KTTH development, one that should be addressed. So, never want to shy away from these stories. I shall address it. It's What's Trending, brought to you by Legacy Group Capital Northwest Fund.
What's trending in the media?
We had obviously a significant programming change, and so I think it's important I first address the elephant in the room. Get out. Get out. Get him out of here. No, put him in the other studio, the backup one. Got it? Okay. Now I can address the other big issue, which is the change in mornings. Obviously, there was a change made in morning drive, and there is a simple and unfortunate reason for it. Bonneville, Seattle went through a number of layoffs yesterday. Some on-air people were obviously impacted. Now, the question then becomes, why were layoffs necessary to begin with? What's going on? What happened? Now, I'm not going to get too much in the weeds, but it's because our local economy has not fully recovered from COVID. And I know for some that is a little bit weird to hear. Like, wait, what? We're so over COVID. Oh, totally. I get it. Unfortunately, the economy is not. Turns out, when you shut down an entire economy, and then you top it off with inflation, high interest rates, a tech sector that's struggling, categories of businesses that radio rely on not doing as well as a result of all of that, like mortgage companies, car dealers, things like that, well, then it's kind of a tough spot to operate a business, especially one that is expensive. And we are very expensive because we have so many people in this building. And so in order to stay in business, you end up having to make some very tough and unfortunate decisions, and you have to right size. Now, we're not the only ones. This is not a Bonneville issue. In fact, I think we're the last ones to even go through a little bit of it. And, you know, granted, for every individual that's impacted, it's a huge deal. When you look at the context of other radio stations, we barely did anything. And that's not to dismiss what happened here. It's to tell you how bad it is and how bad other companies are doing just in this media world. We're not the only ones. And it's not even just this region, right? When you look across the country, there are places that from a market standpoint, an economic standpoint, radio has had some problems lately. That's what COVID did. Now, Brian is a friend. Brian is a great host. I listen to him every single morning, and I'm 100% going to miss that. When you work in radio, unfortunately, you know these kinds of things happen. Radio is not known for having job security. It most certainly will never be known for that. Because at the end of all of this, what is radio? It's the entertainment industry. This is entertainment. Now, certainly we talk about news, right? It's a news show, but I am performing, right? I'm talking into a microphone. I have audio clips that I play. When I have a normal conversation with an individual, let's say over lunch or dinner, I'm not talking like this. I'm not as animated. Well, that's not true. I'm pretty animated, but only when I'm angry, and I'm always angry. But you get my point, right? This is entertainment, and we are subject to the mood of our audiences as much as we're subject to the economic realities of doing business in a city like Seattle. Now, I have seen some of the feedback. I'm looking at it, some of it right now, in fact, on the text line. People are upset that there was no announcement, that the decision was made to begin with. I get it. I don't know if there's a right way to do any of this. You generally don't get announcements on something like this. We're not going to run 30-second promos, right, to explain. That's the truth. It's not always up to us to say anything at all, including management. Sometimes you can't say things, especially when we're talking about individual employees. Sometimes we have to abide by laws. Now, I hear from people who are angry, who are saying they're never going to listen again, that they're going to delete their app. In fact, right when I sent this email complaining, I deleted my app. I'm looking at one comment on the text line saying, I hope this is your Bud Light moment. It's an odd comparison, but I hear what you're saying. I get it. But then I also see those same emails and text messages or tweets ending with, I hope Jason's not next. I'm still a fan of Jason, but man, that sucks. I'm never going to listen again. Well, if you're a fan of mine, you better still listen. I mean, you would be putting me...
It seems like an odd solution.
Yeah, you would not be putting me in a very good position. I mean, if you're a fan of mine, if you're a fan of Brian's, if you're a fan of local radio, if you're a fan of conservative talk, getting angry at a station's management or programming decisions that people were effectively forced into because of the economy, not because of anything else, getting angry and deleting your app or not listening or unsubscribing to a podcast or not clicking on a story at KTTH.com, that does absolutely nothing but hurt me and this station, which then ensures more layoffs will end up coming. That's the truth. The reality is that if everyone listening was a little bit more supportive where they can be, perhaps we wouldn't be in this position. And I don't say that to blame you, because it's obviously not you necessarily, at least. There are 3 stations in this building. We have a website. This is just across the board. But I talk to people fairly frequently who will recognize me from TV, or they'll be clear fans of what I write, who have no clue I have a radio show, which is always disconcerting. I will get almost every week, I will get an email or a message on our Facebook page or our Twitter account from people sending me a link to a story or saying, hey, did you hear this? You have to cover this. Please, you have to cover this. And I had covered it the day before, which meant they weren't listening. Maybe they don't listen. Maybe they had to miss that show, but didn't listen to the podcast. Maybe they're not podcast subscribers. There's all these different things that, sorry, the truth is, I can go through all of it and say, well, if you were really a fan, but I don't feel good doing that because I think it is awesome. No matter how much time you give us something. And I don't want to be that person who says, I demand you do even more. I'll do that jokingly. But, you know, it's a weird spot to say, I need a little bit more. We all need a little bit more. Because, in fact, it kind of feels like we're putting this on you, and that's not fair. I'm not putting it on you. I'm just telling you the reality. The best way to support any talk show host on any station that you like, whether it's me or anyone else, is to consume our content, share our content so other people can consume it, and become an evangelist for that content. The same way on this show, we take on issues for you and for the communities that you live in, and we bring a lot of attention to it, or at least we try. That's what you have to do for the people that you consume content for and actually like it. The best way to support this show, this station, any show on this station or any station that you listen to, it's to shop with our advertisers. And I say this all the time, like, when I endorse, it's because I actually believe what I'm saying because I've experienced it. I have spoken to these people. I've asked them questions. I've taken a deep dive into the way they do business. I don't say yes to absolutely everything. Sometimes I would like to be that person who just says yes, but I don't. And so when I endorse a company, you know, I'm hoping that because you like my content, you'll then support them, which then supports me. Because we do this for free for you, right? You're not paying to listen to this. You're giving us your time, and that is, as some people will say, priceless. It's not priceless. You look at your own schedule. You can figure out a price. But I'm saying, you know, the content is free. And so we get supported by advertisers. Advertisers spend money to go on the air because people will listen and then shop with them. And if people either don't listen or don't shop with them, okay, well, then that hurts us. And then decisions get made that not everyone loves. So if you have a dirty carpet or air ducts, what do we say? Go to alpineclean.com. Wonderful sponsor. They're going to help. If you need to lose 20 pounds, you go to eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Another wonderful sponsor. If you know someone who was in a car accident, you go to haroldcarattorney.com. 2 R's in car. Another great sponsor. If you've got old gold coins or jewelry, especially given how much gold is worth right now, go to Bellevue Rare Coins, one of their 4 locations. Another wonderful sponsor. Hey, if you can't spend any money because you owe money to the IRS, you can still go to Greg Nunn of Nunn Better Tax Resolution, NUNN. Nunn Better Tax Resolution, another wonderful sponsor. It is not easy for anyone to advertise on conservative talk stations, certainly not in Seattle. They know the risk, but they do that because they think you are worth it. And so I would say right now, it's important to support them as much as it is important to support the hosts or the stations that you listen to. What we do here is expensive. I have a large ego. I demand a very high salary. We have human beings who are pushing buttons, who are writing copy, who are producing audio, who are making decisions, on marketing and whatnot. That's expensive. And so I ask that if you are ever going to spend some time supporting our sponsors, do it right now. Because that's what we rely on. In exchange for this content for free, you shop with our advertisers, you help spread word about our content so that we can grow even during economically challenging times. That's what we ask. And when it doesn't happen to the point that makes sense for a business operation, unfortunately, cuts get made. Sometimes, no matter what you do, it's going to be beyond your control and our control because the economy is what the economy is. You can't always overcome things. But that's what happened. That's why it happened. And that's what it is. I obviously wish Brian the absolute best of luck. Again, he's a friend. Texted with him this morning. And with that said, Armstrong and Getty back on KTTH in mornings. Really like those guys. They were here before. They're here now. I'm a fan of their show. I remember listening to it every single morning when they were on KTTH, when they came up here for a Freedom Series. This was a while ago, 2016. Really good guys who actually cared about this area and spent the time that was necessary to spend understanding local issues. Some people will say, oh, well, they're from California. Okay. I mean, here's the thing. I don't live in Bellevue. I don't live in Kenmore. I don't live in Bothell or Tacoma or Bellingham or Everett, but I spend the time understanding what the issues are so I can talk about it in a way that makes sense. I don't know if you realize this, as much as I am uber wealthy because of my book sales and whatnot, I can't afford to live in multiple places, certainly not at once. I do visit places from time to time, but I can't live everywhere at once. I don't have a vacation home in Bothell, which would be very odd if I had a vacation home in Bothell. Maybe I had a rental property in Bothell.
That would make more sense.
Yeah, but I don't. But I do what I can so I know the issues on the ground, and that's what Armstrong and Getty do. And I know they're going to do that here because they've done it in the past. That's why they were so successful, frankly, on KTTH when they were last here. So I hope that answers some questions. If it doesn't, well, what do you want from me, man? I mean, I told you everything I knew. Y'all are just asking for what more can I answer?